Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another Baddies Africa review, so let's just get right into it. So this episode picks up where the last one left off, where they were at the house meeting that Natalie put together, and Natalie ends up asking the girls if they'll be able to go out to the club in South Africa and not fight, because if they fight in the clubs in South Africa, they'll be banned. So Natalie is asking this question, and Summer jumps up out of her seat, and she starts taking off on K Rican, okay? And she was getting K Rican. I'm sorry, K Rican cannot fight. I don't have an issue with K Rican so far, but she can't fight because Summer had her swimming, okay? And Summer can't really fight herself, but the way that she was handling herself in this fight with K Rican, Summer definitely learned a thing or two being on Baddies. And after that fight was broken up, Big Lex gets up because she's ready to fight Fíght again, because in last week's episode they got into a couple of fights, so she wanted to fight one more round before they go to the club. So Fíght and Big Lex start swinging on each other, okay? Neither one of them are connecting at first because they only got to swing a couple of times before the bonnet that Big Lex was wearing covered her eyes, and that's when Dolly and Summer got involved. And I will say, I don't like that Dolly and Summer got involved because Lex does not need the two of them to jump in any of her fights. Lex already told Summer a few episodes ago not to get involved in any of her fights, that she appreciates it, but she can handle it herself, and yet they still decided to jump in. Now, I get them trying to, stall things out because Lex's bonnet went over her eyes and they didn't want their friend to get whooped, but I felt like it was unnecessary because Lex ended up taking that bonnet off as soon as it went over her eyes, so to me, it wasn't necessary for the two of them to get involved. Now, Cold Killer did even the playing field a little bit because she ended up getting involved and she swung on Dolly. And once security broke up that fight, all of a sudden, Dolly ends up grabbing K Rican and she starts trying to swing on her, and security quickly grabs Dolly away. So there was a bunch of chaos at this house meeting. Nothing ended up getting accomplished. There was noodles all over the floor because I guess that's what Dolly ended up throwing in Fauna's face when Lex's bonnet ended up going over her eyes. So that was crazy to me. There was literally hard noodles all over the ground, and I didn't even notice that until Ivory pointed it out. Now, when the fights got broken up, Diamond ended up pulling Natalie to the side, and she was complaining about Dolly and Summer jumping in Lex's fights, and I agree with her. I don't think that Summer and Dolly should get involved in Lex's fights, but I'm tired of these girls complaining about jumping because when it's their friends doing the jumping, they don't say anything about it. Like, Diamond has jumped people plenty of times. She snuck people plenty of times, and I know people are not going to like me saying this because people love Diamond so much, but I just have to keep it real and be honest. She didn't say anything when Anna was jumping people, and she doesn't care that Anna's always constantly saying that she's ready to jump somebody. So I'm just over all of these girls complaining about the jumping, but then when it's their friends doing the jumping, they don't say anything about it. I feel like if everybody's gonna say that they don't want any jumping, then nobody needs to get involved in anybody's fights anymore. From now on, everybody needs to stand back and let their friends fight their own battles, because I just feel like people are picking and choosing. When their friends or somebody they like is jumping somebody, they don't say anything about it, but then when it's a girl they don't like jumping somebody, then everybody has something to say. I think it needs to be even across the playing field. Now, they all end up going to the club to celebrate Lemmy's birthday, and everything's going fine at first, but then Natalie starts calling out all the baddies' names on the microphone, and she doesn't shout out any of the new girls, and they definitely felt some type of way about that. Well, let me say Fauna, because I didn't hear any of the other new girls complain about it, but Fauna definitely had an issue with it, and I can understand that because Natalie said that they're not doing the whole OGs newbie thing. Everybody's going to be treated the same, so if she shouted out all the OGs, then she should have shouted out the new girls as well. But then Anna ends up showing up to the club, which I thought was kind of weird because at the end of the day, she said that she didn't need the show. She was done with the show. She didn't get fired. She quit, and then she ends up showing up to the club for Lemmy's birthday party. Now, everything was fine. I thought her outfit was really cute. I think she looked good, and I thought it was good that they were all able to be at the club with each other without fighting, because at the end of the day, when you're in another country, you should not be fighting at the club. I don't even think in the United States you should be fighting in the clubs, so I just think that it was good that they were able to have a good time. But it was very clear that Natalie did feel some type of way about Anna being there, and she knows that Diamond was the one that invited Anna, so she's supposed to be addressing Diamond in next week's episode to tell her that she didn't like that she invited Anna to the club. It's a club, she can be there. I don't think the cameras had to film her. They didn't really show much at the club anyway. Honestly, hearing about what happened at the club when the cameras cut was more interesting than what they showed in this episode. Now, after the club scene was over, they ended up putting a caption on the screen, and it said that because Summer ended up getting into an altercation with one of the zoo's security guards, she was banned from, participating in any filming for the next few episodes. So for the next few episodes, she won't really be a part of it. And I'm interested to see how that's going to go, because I know a lot of the fans don't like Summer, but you can't lie, she is very entertaining. So I'm interested to see if these episodes are going to be fun or not, because this episode was kind of lackluster a little bit. And I'm not saying that it was lackluster because there wasn't a lot of fights, but I just felt like there was something missing from this episode. Now, the next next day, Russian Cream, Elsie, and, Tavy were having a conversation in their room because the three of them share a room with each other, and they were talking about what happened when the cameras cut off at the club at Lemmy's birthday party, and basically they said that something almost happened between Dolly and K. Rican. Apparently, K. Rican was on the microphone turning up, and Dolly ended up snatching the microphone from her hand. Now, Tavy said that she didn't like that, and she felt like Dolly was being a hater. And I will say, Tavy said that she felt like it was jealousy. I don't think that it was jealousy. I don't think that Dolly is jealous of, K. Rican, because I don't think that there's a reason for her to be jealous of K. Rican. However, it definitely did give hater vibes. Like, why snatch the microphone out of her hand? I do think that K. Rican handled it well, better than a lot of other people would have, because other people would have snatched the microphone back, and then it probably would have ended up turning into a physical altercation. But K. Rican did make it clear in this episode that the reason why she didn't turn up on Dolly at the club after she snatched the microphone from her is because she doesn't want to get arrested in another country. And listen, I completely agree with her on that, but when I went back to the house, I would have handled that situation with Dolly. When Cold Killer, K. Rican, and Fauna were all talking about what happened at the club, Rolly ends up coming into the room, and Fauna ends up telling her that she definitely felt some type of way about Natalie not shouting them out on the microphone like she did for all of the OGs. And basically, Rolly said that she's been telling Natalie that she does need to spend time and get to know some of the new girls, but the reason why Natalie is hesitant is because look what happened. She got cool with all the baddies from every single season of the show, and they all kind of ended up turning on her and making comments about her, trying to fight her. So maybe that's the reason why Natalie is being a little bit standoffish. I just feel like on this show, the way that Natalie went wrong is that she tried to befriend these girls, and I feel like she should have kept it strictly professional. I don't feel like it should have ever been more than just them working together on the show. I don't think that anybody should have gotten any special treatment, and nobody should have been considered her friend. I think that would have saved a lot of the drama. Now look, I don't know how to feel about Tavy, because in last week's episode, she was going really hard for Elsie, having her back and fighting all these girls because they allegedly ended up jumping Elsie when the camera stopped rolling, all for her to basically go against Elsie in this episode. Because when Russian Cream and Tavy were talking about how they were acting really cool with some of the other girls in the club, like Cold Killer, they were shaking hands with her and smoking with her and K. Rican, and then they were talking about how K. Rican started acting funny towards them when they got back to the house after being cool with them at the club. Elsie ended up asking Tavy why she was even shaking hands with any of those girls after they jumped her in the previous episode, and she just felt like there's no need for them to try to be friends with girls that they fought. And I really don't think there was anything wrong with what Elsie said, so I didn't understand why Tavy was turning up on her, telling her that she needs to mind her business about what she does and that she's not going to be fighting girls that are her co-workers, because at the end of the day, she still has to see these girls every day. And I'm like, okay, so then what was the point of you getting involved in Elsie's issues that she had with these girls in the previous episode? Like, to me, she's switching up really quickly. And I agree with the fans who are calling out Tavy, because she was the same person a few episodes ago telling Cold Killer that she shouldn't be having any of the girls' backs on the show, because the girl that she's fighting for in one episode might be the girl she's fighting in the next episode, and she's doing the same thing to Elsie. I completely agree with people saying that, because we saw the previews for next week's episode, and she ends up fighting Elsie, so I'm confused. I guess I can just say I don't know how to feel about Tavy right now. Now, Scotty and Natalie end up having a conversation one-on-one outside, because Scotty wanted to talk about everything that's been going on in their so-called friendship that they have. And basically, Natalie said that Scotty has changed and she doesn't really know if she likes the new version of Scotty. And then she said in her confessional that Scotty's not the friend that everybody thinks that she is. And look, I'm over both Scotty and Natalie. I'm tired of their friendship, their so-called fake friendship that they have with each other. Both of them are fake, okay? I know a lot of y'all like Scotty and you want to make her out to be innocent, but I think there is some truth to what Natalie said in her confessional about Scotty not being the friend that all the fans think that she is. I don't think Scotty's as innocent as everybody's trying to make her out to be. I'm not saying she's a villain. She is pretty, she is friendly, and I do like that she's able to compliment other girls, but that doesn't necessarily make her the girl's girl that people are trying to make her out to be. Scotty's not innocent and she's not perfect. And if Natalie is as bad as everybody is claiming that she is, if she's as fake, phony, and evil as everybody says she is, then you need to be looking at the girls that are friends with Natalie too, because if they could hang around her knowing that she acts that way, then what are they, okay? They're just as bad as she is if they're able to hang around her knowing that she's that type of person. So either Natalie's not as bad as everybody tries to make her out to be, or the girls that are her friends are just as bad as she is. I'm just over them. All of them are fake. Even Rolly ended up going live yesterday and confirming that she's leaving Zeus and that she's not coming back for another season of Baddies, and then she took a shot at Natalie saying Natalie was talking behind her back. All all of these girls talk behind each other's backs. Every single one of these girls talk about each other behind their backs, okay? Nobody's innocent. I'm not falling for the little innocent act that a lot of these baddies like to try to act like they have. No, all of y'all are not innocent. All of y'all talk about each other. All of you guys are using each other for how it benefits all of you. So I'm over that situation. Zeus could have kept this scene. Then at the end of this episode, everybody ends up getting together for breakfast. And before Dolly and Lex come to the table, everything is calm, cool, and collected. Everybody's having a conversation about what happened at the club. And Rolly keeps bringing up the fact that Dolly snatched the microphone from K. Rican. And again, K. Rican said that the only reason why she didn't do anything when Dolly did that is because she didn't want to get arrested in Africa. So the energy changes in the room when Lex and Dolly do end up showing up to breakfast, because that's when Rolly ends up asking Dolly why she was trying to stand up on tables at the club, because the last time she tried to do that last season, she ended up falling off the table. And that's when Dolly said that the reason why she fell off the table last season is because there was only room for one person on the table she was standing on, and somebody else tried to stand on it with her, and that's why she fell. And Cold Killer took the time to take a jab at Dolly, basically calling her a hater and saying that there's always room for other girls next to her. So they start going back and forth with each other. And I'm not gonna lie, Dolly did not come up in there starting trouble. It was everybody kind of starting and picking with her because of the things that she was doing in the club the previous night. So I wasn't surprised about that. So Rolly was being messy, you know, the same way everybody drags Natalie for being messy and pressing issues that everybody already talked about. Well, Rolly was doing the same thing in this scene, because even after she already knew that Dolly snatched the microphone from K. Rican, she decided to ask Dolly at the table in front of everybody if she snatched the microphone out of K. Rican's hand, knowing that she already did. And Dolly did admit that she snatched the microphone, but she said that she thought she was one of the other girls and claimed that they all looked alike. And that's when Tavy got involved, and she started kind of coming at Dolly a little bit, telling her that she's always mistaken somebody's identity. So now Dolly is really alert at this point, because she feels like something's gonna happen and she's gonna have to fight, because multiple different people are kind of coming at her a little bit at the table. So her and K. Rican start going back and forth about the whole microphone situation, and Dolly felt like K. Rican should have handled it yesterday or not talked about it at all the next day. I don't agree with that, because I understood why K. Rican didn't address it at the club. She already said it multiple different times. She didn't want to get arrested and she didn't want to get in trouble, so that's why she didn't. So then Scotty ends up coming to the table, and that's when Fauna starts telling her what happened between Dolly and K. Rican at the club. And Dolly gets pissed off because Fauna keeps saying her name. So Dolly ends up telling Fauna to say her name one more time, and Fauna ends up saying it. So Dolly gets up and K. Rican just immediately starts throwing food. So everybody starts throwing food all over the place at each other. Like it was a food fight. This is probably why Zeus does not end up feeding these girls, allegedly, because now that they have food on the table, they're throwing plates, cups, forks, spoons, knives, everything under the damn sun. Next time they feed these girls, they need to feed them in plastic only, because they were throwing glass everywhere. So those are my thoughts on this week's episode of Baddies Africa. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video.